Luton Urban Radio. We're your hosts, Maytab and
Kat.
And today our topic is police recruitment. We're joined by 3 police officers, so if you'd just like to introduce yourself, starting off with Ali.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Ali. I'm a police constable for Bedfordshire Police, and I am a recruitment officer, so my full-time job is to recruit officers for Bedfordshire Police.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is PC Tionei Mundangepfupfu. Just joined recently, about 6 months ago, and I'm a PC Ali. Let me join, so happy in my role as a police constable. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Chand. I'm a Chief Inspector for the North of Bedfordshire.
So, as we all know, today's show is on police recruitment. So, this question might be directed a bit more towards Ali, but all of you can answer if you feel you've got an answer. Can you tell us what methods you use for your recruitment and what are the challenges you may face?
So we're quite open about our recruitment. We advertise everywhere, social media, we attend public events, we go to schools, universities, colleges to encourage people to think about a career in policing, even if it's just not now, maybe in a couple of years' time. We go out into our local communities, work with community religious establishments and community people who have influence in the community, just to encourage them, to encourage people. So people who have influence in their community, they have a say, and people listen to what they have to say, and we want them to be on our side when it comes to encouraging people within their community to join Bedfordshire Police. Essentially, we'll use any method that we can that attracts people to the police.
Cool, so what are some of the challenges that you guys face with recruitment? Because as we know, there's been a lot over social media about sort of anti-police things. Yeah. So what's your guys' sort of take on that?
Yeah, so social media is one of the biggest challenges. It's fashionable to bash the police on social media, and it becomes very popular when a police officer makes a mistake. We're all human, we make mistakes, and when a police officer does it, it really blows up on social media. And that makes it difficult for people who are potentially considering a career in policing to then think, oh, is this what the police stands for? When it isn't. It might just be an individual who's having a bad day or just made a mistake. So that adds a certain challenge for us. On top of that, obviously, things that have happened in the past, things that happen in America, all of that stuff actually adds to the pressures, and it makes it difficult, especially for us to recruit amongst diverse communities who may have had a negative experience of policing in the past.
That actually kind of leads into the next question, because you mentioned diverse communities.
Yeah.
What more challenges do you think there is? Because obviously, from being a black individual, I would say, definitely in America, I think sometimes we do need to remember, we are in England, but what would you say, in the UK, maybe is the reasons why diverse communities are reluctant?
I mean, a lot of major incidents have happened in America, but there have been incidents in Bedfordshire. I don't want to go into the specifics of them, but incidents involving ethnic minority people and police have happened in Bedfordshire that have had a direct impact on the community of Bedfordshire, therefore making it difficult for us to recruit amongst those communities. That's a direct impact that policing, whatever it was that's happened, has had on Bedfordshire. In terms of just reaching out to the community, maybe it's not a career that people consider fashionable in that community or is attractive in that community. Me being from a Asian community background, would my parents provide if I was a doctor or an engineer or anything like that? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got those pressures as well. And when I was younger, I listened to my parents and I went off to uni. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, but to make my parents happy, I did it. And only later on down in life, I thought, you know what, that isn't what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So I joined the police, and I think that can be a challenge, especially amongst I say Muslim women. A lot of it's dictated by your parents or your family. Well, dictate is probably a strong word. Maybe it's influence. You respect your parents' decisions. You go by what they say. You take their feedback on board, and maybe that deters people sometimes from actually pursuing what they want to do. That might be a career in policing.
And Tionei, being a police officer, what do you think? Did you have any what do you think, coming from you personally?
Of course, me coming from a black minority background as well. you look at police force, you think, can I really fit into it? That's one of the main issues that you'll be looking at. Can I fit in? But you can realize also that you can make a difference within. Yeah, it's only when you actually get into it and then you actually realize they promote being yourself, and they promote different cultures as well. So you can actually be yourself and you can actually change and diversify. So a lot more people see black people on police force as well. They're going to identify with it and work a bit more. That makes sense.
I mean, so Ali, you also mentioned that sort of family pressures might make people a bit more reluctant to join the police, and in particular you said Muslim women.
Yep.
So could you talk a little bit more about that, please?
So, being in recruitment, I speak to a lot of candidates. I'm probably one of their first points of contact, along with the rest of my team. And having conversations with young women from the Muslim background, and they have said, sometimes it is difficult because this is not what my family want me to do. This is not what my mum wants me to do. This is not what my cousins want me to do. What my extended family want me to do. So there's a lot of opinions. When a female in our culture sometimes decides to go step out the house and to pursue a career, especially in a field like policing, which has its negatives, which has previously been, it's not a field for women or whatever preconceptions there are of policing and women. And I'm just talking to you about conversations I've had with my candidates and how I've had to reassure them that this is a career for women, this is a career for Muslim women and Asian women and women from all backgrounds. We're all about creating a workforce where women feel safe. You look around the world and everything that's going on and all the pressures. We don't need to talk about some of the incidents that have happened involving women but yeah, it's not a safe world. But policing is a safe environment for women to come and work in.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned females as well, so I think definitely that there's been a lot of negative news about police treatment of females. So what would you say sort of in retaliation to that?
I'm not going to go into it too much. At the end of the day, I don't know enough about the incidents that you're speaking about to actually make a comment on them. What I will say is everyone has their own experience and we are humans, and any officer caught misbehaving or doing something that they shouldn't be doing deserves what they get, and I hope they all get found out, and we try our very best during recruitment to identify individuals who are not right for our force so we can prevent them getting to that stage in the first place. You can't predict the future, you can't see what's going on in someone's head, and sometimes you have to take people for face value. So as much as I want to protect my community, I also want to protect my officers. That includes all the female officers. So I want to ensure that when I'm recruiting, I'm trying to recruit the people who I feel are not only just safe for our community, but are safe for our police force.
Yeah, I do agree. I do think, because even as a individual who's maybe even thought about joining police, I've always thought nah, that's a bit too aggressive for me, or I feel what if I'm going to get hurt or something? So what would you say to that even?
That's a question that comes up very, very often, and more often than not from parents of young
really?
women, and my answer to that is, if that's something that you're concerned about, you don't have to be a frontline police officer. There are so many different roles within the police, which, do you want to talk about us? I'll carry on talking about them. So, one of the most attractive areas, especially for women, I've noticed during my time in this role, is detectives.
But how don't you have to be to be a detective?
So you have to do some frontline policing, because it's really important that you understand both sides of the business. There's actually three. So you've got your investigations, you've got your community policing, and you've obviously got your frontline policing. It's important that you understand all three areas, because all three areas help you become a substantive police officer. But long term, if you see yourself as a detective, if you see yourself using your brain rather than your brawn, that is a role for you. So you don't have to be a frontline police officer.
I think being a detective would be really cool as well, because I've always sort of imagined the lab coat and then the magnifying glass.
Not Detective Gadget,
That's a forensic.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, that aside, Mike, so how long have you been sort of in the whole policing business?
Well, I've had 22 years service now. So yeah.
Okay, so how have you sort of seen people's attitudes towards joining the police change over time?
You have to be honest with these things, and things have changed. They've changed a hell of a lot from when I joined, from pure out-and-out racism and prejudice to something maybe not as much as when it was 20 odd years ago. I can't sit here and absolutely say there is no racism and prejudice, but there is. That's just not in policing, that's in society. You have to remember police officers come from the community. Now, you name one community that isn't racist or prejudiced, and if we take the black community or the Asian community, there's racism within the communities themselves or prejudice within themselves. But they're the same people in those communities that come and do jobs like ours. So we can't say that you join the police and everything stops. It doesn't. We're just an extension of that community. So I think we have to say that the police fight tooth and nail against racism and prejudice, and we're so much further along than we've ever been before. There's a report called the Casey report that's just come out, and that's more specific to the Met Police, but ultimately it sort of puts in a bit of a flavour of policing generally, nationally. And I think there's going to be a lot to learn out of that report. And you may remember the Stephen Lawrence case and the Stephen Lawrence inquiry. That had a lot of lessons in there. Not all have been opted in for, but I think policing is learning, and it's a much more safer environment, and an environment you can actually express yourself, and if something goes wrong you have the power and the ability to do something about it. And I just want to mention, you mentioned danger in the job. If you're a nurse, you're in more danger than a police officer, because a police officer can protect themselves. They've got training, they've got the weapons to protect themselves against an assailant. Poor nurses and doctors don't have that. So can you see the difference where everyone thinks it's dangerous, but actually, no, it's not. It's actually really safe because you're trained to protect yourself.
And that's why I think conversations like the ones we're having right now are so important, because I think it sort of gets rid of a lot of misconceptions that we're sort of getting thrown at us. Like you said, for example, that things are moving forward, but I feel like the way it's being portrayed to the youth by social media is that things are just going backwards, things are like the worst they've ever been.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that policing doesn't get things wrong. It does, nationally and internationally. Of course it gets things wrong, and there are officers who will always be corrupt. Not just in policing, but in every walk of society and in every organisation you'll find corrupt people. We're no different. But the difference is for the media, all bad news is good news for the media, because no one wants to see good news, and no one wants to hear that, because it's not something they can sell, but they can always sell bad news. So I think we're in a society and a culture now that everything that bad happens is highlighted and thrown out all over the papers and what have you, internet. But anything that's good is subdued, but there is far more good than there is bad, I can assure you.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that that's so true, because I was watching this comedian actually called Russell Howard, and he made, do you know Russell Howard? Yeah, I love him. And he was basically talking about the police, and he said, I'm going to talk about this, and I know it's uncool and I'm probably going to get hate for it, but I feel like they need to get recognition, because there's police officers out there putting their lives on the line just for like members of the public. So I think good news like that isn't really shown as much in the media, because it's not what sells. But I definitely do think there is a lot of that out there, and sort of we need to sort of shine a light on that a bit more.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Tionei, actually, like being a student officer, can you tell us a bit about your experience being a black male at Bedfordshire Police?
Okay, yeah, I thought it was gonna be, well, the experience might be bad or anything, but actually, to be honest, it was really, really good from the recruitment side. Starting with PC Ali as well. They show you the good side of police, and for sure, when you get into it, yeah, it takes a bit of time, but once you get into it, you start mingling with everybody. Everybody wants to understand your culture, understand everything about you as well, that you can bring to the team. So it's about your qualities that you bring to the team as well, and it helps out with the whole process.
That's cool that you said like your qualities that you bring to the team, because we are all different individuals, and like we all do have different qualities that we can be used to an advantage. So I think that is so important that Bedfordshire Police clearly are diversifying themselves, and they're using your different qualities. Yeah,
definitely. So I think you said different qualities, because I think a lot of us, we're not just where we're from, like we're not just an ethnicity. There's so many things that make a person who they are, and it's not just their ethnic background, and I feel like that needs to be emphasised a little bit more as well. Like there's so much more that you need to be as a person to join the police force.
Yeah, so they're actually promoting that, like be you in Bedfordshire Police, so that you can be yourself and actually use your skills to a greater good, because all you're doing is protecting the public. You actually be there for the public, helping the public as well. So if you can use your skills to do that, first and foremost, you're saving life in them every day. So that's what.
I think it's really important to say that the UK, and specifically the UK, has changed so much, even in the last 10 years. The war that's gone around the world, not just this particular Ukraine war, but the war out in the Middle East, etc., etc. We've had refugees and immigration like we've never had, well, since the 60s at least, before. So we're now a more multicultural, more multilingual place than we've ever been. If the police are meant to represent their community, we need people from those communities representing them in the police force. So that's why now culture and diversity is at the top of our priority list when we recruit. We need people of different cultures who understand the community, different languages, who can help us speak to the community and gain the information we need. So I think it's never been a better time to join the police, because we want your difference.
Definitely, and I think there's a lot of people who don't like the police because of things that they might have seen, and that's why I think it's even more important for them to join the police, because then they can make that change.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes individuals feel like they'll get like brainwashed if they join the police, and like, they'll lose their ways, and like, have you like seen like on like memes, like if they see a black boy, it's like, oh, you've lost your way, man, like all of that. I think people kind of forget like you have a voice, and I think like, do they like have a voice that they can have their own say, and all of that, because maybe they feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so with recruitment, I go out to a lot of communities and a lot of colleges and around Luton schools. And don't get me wrong, I've been called a disgrace for being a police officer.
Oh, stop.
by people from my own community.
Wow.
Young kids, 18, 19 years old they were.
And why is that?
They think they're cool, let's face it.
Well, yeah, one is, they feel like they're in a safe environment where I can't do anything about it. Well, I grabbed them by the, I didn't grab them by the ear, but metaphorically I grabbed them by the ear, took them in a corner, and I gave them a real lecture on, what it is actually to be a police officer. And they shook my hand in the end, and I left a positive influence. For me, recruitment isn't just, for what I go out and do, recruitment is my priority, but it's about going into our communities and making it, and for them to see someone that looks like them, that talks like them, that follows the same religion as them, follows the same culture as them, and to just feel comfortable around a police officer. I don't want people to feel like they can't call the police. Everyone has the right to call the police if they need a police officer from any community, any background. And for me, it's about promoting that we are going to make a difference. We might not always get it right, like the boss said, but if we get it wrong, we'll apologise, we'll learn from it, and we'll move on, and we'll try and do it better the next time. So whatever has happened in communities, whatever has happened in the past, we're trying to move on from that. People are still going to make mistakes. We're still, something else is going to happen next week or a month later or a year later. That's going to push all our hard work back to where it was. But we'll keep pushing, and we'll keep going back into those communities, and we'll keep trying to break down those barriers every single time.
And do you see a sort of progression in what you're doing then? Yeah.
I think I've been in the police for about 5 years now, and I've definitely seen the number of diverse officers around the force increase just over my tenure. It's nice to see more black officers. We are from a multicultural community. I've seen an increase in the number of Romanian officers around the force, and Polish officers. In recent years we've had an influx of Romanians and Polish, and over the next couple of years I hope to see more Afghanistani officers, Ukrainian officers. So as Boss said, our community is always changing. Our languages are always increasing, our cultures, our religions are always increasing, and we need to have a police force that can cater to all of that, because if we don't, who will?
Yeah, I think it's really important just to touch on that point. When I joined the police 22 years ago, I was one of 2 Asian officers in the whole force, of a force of around 1,300 officers. We're now, I think, 10.1% out of 1,300 officers. So, we've got 100 odd officers now of different colour, physically different. And I believe we've got probably at least 6 or 7 hijabi female Muslim officers, and that was unheard of before. But these are people who are now, they're making the difference. People are seeing them, and I think when people see them and they see the way they work and how professional they are, that will in itself encourage others to join. Because if you see someone who looks like you doing well, then you think to yourself, well, I could do that. And that's what's breaking down those barriers, actually seeing physically those officers, people that talk like you, look like you, understand your culture, doing the job. So that's what we want. We want people to take that chance and see it for what it is rather than what they think it is.
Yeah, and I think it's so special as well for a young person to see a police officer that looks like them, because then they have someone to look up to, because then they think in their heads that they're able to get to that place where they are. Because, you know, you mentioned Muslim hijabi officers. I don't think I've ever actually seen one. And I think growing up, if more people that I knew maybe saw them, then maybe they'd want to become a police officer or something, because I think representation does definitely matter.
Yeah, they are a rare breed, I'm not going to lie. They're like unicorns. You're not going to see them around every street corner, but there are a few, and I have got a few more coming through the recruitment process that I'm supporting, and hopefully we'll see a few more come through onto our streets. But yeah, I agree with, you know, we could spend thousands of pounds on advertising, but nothing advertises policing more than seeing someone who looks like you, speaks like you, wears the same attire as you on that street doing their job. You know, that sends a powerful message to anyone who aspires to be a police officer, and any young woman, a hijabi young woman who thinks, I can't do it. Well, she can, so why can't you? And that's where we come in. So if you feel like you can't do it, come and talk to us. That's where I come in. You know, let's have that conversation. Let's find out what those barriers are, and let's see what we can do for you in order to eradicate those barriers to actually get you on the ladder to becoming a police officer. What
advice would you give to someone who's fighting against cultural barriers?
It's a tough one. It is a tough one, because you don't want to overstep your mark. You know, family is important, your culture is important, your religion is important, and you know, they are specific to you. So I don't want to, as an outsider, come in and say, well, you should rebel against your parents or rebel against your culture and do this just because you want to be a police officer. So it's about trying to find that right balance. Well, is there anything I can do? You know, at times, one of the things I did was, as the boss mentioned, we've got some hijabi officers. The hijabi officer wanted to join, but her mum wasn't too keen on it. So I got a hijabi officer to speak to her mum, to try and convince her that this was actually a good career for her daughter. And I think that made a massive impact, because she is now in the recruitment process. But just having that conversation with a woman who looks like her daughter, sounds like her daughter, does the same thing as her daughter, doing the role of a police officer made her feel more comfortable in the fact that, okay, if my daughter's in this role, she's going to be completely fine.
So I'm going to give you a little statistic here. So one of the biggest challenges in recruiting is young black men, with only 1% of officers from the black community. So what are your targets going forward on this?
It's really important you brought up that stat, and it's something we're really, really aware of and conscious of. But I think to answer it, you've just got to look a little bit further back. The reality is black and Asian communities, of communities of different cultures, generally back in the day mistrusted the police because of the atrocities that occurred in the 60s and 70s. And that's a generational thing, because those are the people who are now parents and grandparents, and they are the ones who are sharing their experiences with the younger people of today, saying don't join the police because of X, Y and Z. But they're coming from a perspective, and they're coming from a time when policing was different. So that's how we're feeding into the negativity towards the police from certain cultures. It's absolutely true that black females and black males are the type of, you know, we've got least of those in terms of officers. We're trying to recruit them, we're trying to talk to them, we're trying to educate people. But I think we're in a little bit of a culture now where sometimes it's cool to be against the police, whether it's urban culture, whether it's gang culture, you know, and it's difficult for those people to step out of those environments because they're almost seen as traitors or on the other side. And as you mentioned earlier, I think you were saying something about people's...
No, I definitely did say something.
Yeah, and that's just it. So they're fighting against their own urban culture, but you've got to grow up at some point. You've got to grow up and think, well, do I need a career? Do I need a life? Do I want to earn money? Do I want to better myself? And if you do, policing is the right career for you, because I can tell you that young people that do join, some of them are shy and demure when they come in, but when they come out, they're really confident professionals, because there's things we teach you that you're never going to learn from any other environment, and people come out really, really confident, and not only does it better them as a person, as a career, but their life changes, and they make better decisions in life. So for that reason alone, I would say to anyone, come and join the police.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Also, there are support groups within the police, like diverse support groups that will actually help you. So if everyone is thinking about joining, or you can talk to if you're feeling like, okay, everything is going wrong for me, they will actually help you. So they set up. So I'll say that, yeah, that's one of the biggest things as well that's going to help you as a police officer.
So just to expand on that, I'm the chair of the Black and Asian Staff Support Group, or the Diversity Support Group it's now called, and what we do is look after all our culturally different officers within the force. So if you've got a problem you can't talk about, you come and talk to us and we support you. So you have that extra benefit of the extra bit of support should you need it.
So could you talk just quickly for the last 30 seconds, just tell our listeners about any apprenticeships and work experience you have to offer?
So we do offer a degree apprenticeship, which you have to be 18, you have to have your maths and English GCSEs or functional skills, and you have to have 32 UCAS points. But we can talk more about that after the break.
Yeah, we'll probably come back to that after the break, but this is Public and the Police. Guys, welcome back to Public in the Police with your host Kat
And Maytab.
And we are going to go straight back into talking about placements, about basically where we left off before. So can you tell our listeners about apprenticeships and work experience you offer?
Yeah, so our apprenticeship program is open now. You can apply when you're 17 years old, and you can start a career in policing when you're 18. So essentially, to be eligible to apply, you have to have a maths and English qualification, level 49 at GCSE, or level functional skills to the equivalent grade. Followed by 32 UCAS points at college in any subject that you wish to do. Obviously, if you do public services, law, psychology, those kind of help, but you don't have to. If you like art, if you like sports, do those instead, but just make sure you get the grades. 32 UCAS points is not a lot. It's, I believe it's 2 Ds or a C at A level, so it's attainable. So that's what you need to get onto the apprenticeship. The apprenticeship is a 3-year program. You get a degree at the end of it. Everything's fully funded by Bedfordshire Police, and you're 50% student, 50% police officer.
Oh, that's
Wow.
Is that what you're doing now?
Yeah, I'll go through the apprenticeship PCDA, so I'm doing the degree and being the police officer as well.
Oh, wow.
So you can balance both. It's actually.
I think what he's trying to say is saving himself 60 grand by not going.
Exactly, by not going to uni,
Wow.
so you don't have.
absolutely.
Oh, so you don't have to pay for that bit?
You don't have to pay for that bit. It's
Wait,
all
so
paid for.
Degree apprenticeship, but you're basically doing the job and you're
Yes.
getting paid for it. And
You're
there's
getting
no
paid
sort
for it, and then you're
Yeah.
doing a degree as well.
We're
At the
also
end of
paying
it, you get
university
no.
on your behalf, which you
Yes.
never have to pay back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's what the government should be doing. But anyway, do you also have policing roles, like apprenticeships?
Oh, yeah, I don't know too much about those, but yeah, we do have staff roles. You can find them all on our website. We do have work experience as well. Again, it's information that you can find on our website. And then the other roles I definitely promote is Special Constable. It's a voluntary role. You can apply when you're 17, start when you're 18. You have to only dedicate 16 hours a month to the role of a Special Constable. You get all the powers of police officers, all the uniform, but you're not committed to it. So it's like a try before you buy. Go for a test drive. You come in, you can do everything that a police officer does, but at the end of 6 months, a year, you decide it's not the job for you. You don't have to go on and apply for the role of a police constable. Or like what we hope you do is you love it so much that you decide to apply on the PCVA.
Okay, and I just wanted to ask you, Tio, just a bit about what is your experience like basically being a part-time student and police officer? Like, do you have to do the normal reading? Do you do tests?
Yeah, you do have to commit some time outside of the work as well to do your work, to complete your work as well. But however, they do give you time, protected time, to actually achieve your degree. So they are helpful in the way that they're giving you time to do your work, as well as doing the police officer as well. It all links together. At the end of the day, it all links together and it all works together as well. Yeah, parallel to each other, but it all works together. So it's pretty good.
Could you guys talk to us a little bit more about management and leadership roles?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So everybody starts as a PC, and we have like a 2-year investment period where for 2 years you're literally learning. You're learning your skills, you're learning your powers, you're learning your law, and you're learning how to become a police officer. So that takes you between 18 and 24 months. After that, there's a rank structure. You can take some exams, you can become a sergeant, you can become an inspector, you can become a chief inspector, superintendent, and so on and so forth. So there is a rank structure as you go up, and obviously as the higher you go up, the more responsibility you get. But I can tell you the best role in the force is being a PC out on the street. That's the one role that everyone will tell you, I wish I never moved from there. And that's all the rank and file officers.
Really, why is that?
Yeah.
Because the camaraderie, the team, the friendship, the people you meet out there, you know, every day's a different day. It's not the same office. You go out there, you see different things, you hear different things, you get to help people. That's what you joined the job for. It's one of the best roles ever.
So you said that you get to help people. So as I can imagine, policing is like a very sort of fulfilling role. Starting from any one of you, actually, do you want to talk about how you've made a real difference in your role?
Go on,
Yeah, it's more like, sometimes you get to a job, there's a person lying on the floor, obviously, and you gotta help them. There's no paramedics there, and you're the first one there, and then you get to coordinate as well, other teams coming forward and everything, and then you just help save somebody's life. It's really good as well. Also, when people come to report you, they come to report you for definite problem, and you feel like you can solve it, and then you definitely have powers to solve it. It's very different when you don't have the powers, but when you have the powers, use them very, very fairly with each individual. They come out saying, well done, thank you. You've really helped me move to that point, or you really helped me solve any crime that was bothering them and everything. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, you get a buzz out of it.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up from that. Ultimately, as long as I can come away from a job knowing that I've made someone's life a little bit better, that's enough for me. And you just build on that, don't you? But then, since I've been on recruitment, seeing guys like Tionei and all my other candidates go out onto the streets, not only complete their MVQs but make a difference in their community, that's special for me because I've played a part in getting them into the job. And I'm not going to lie and sit here and tell you all the candidates I've brought in have been amazing. Some have left, some didn't deserve to be in the job, but a lot of them are doing some really good work, and I take personal pride and personal interest in what they're doing, what they're getting up to, and the difference they're making in our community, because that reflects upon me and the recruitment team. So as long as they're doing their best to help our community, then I'm happy.
Can you tell us a bit about what is unique about your specific role in policing, and maybe like why you love it?
Oh, for me, so look, no one joins the police to become a recruitment officer. No one joins the police, all right?
Yeah, did you have to start as a police officer?
I was a police officer. I was a frontline police officer. I've been doing recruitment for about 2 years. But look, when you sit in your interview and they ask you, why do you want to be a police officer? Because I want to work in your recruitment team. No, that's never the answer. I had a tough start. The boss spoke about your 2-year probation period. What you do is like a NVQ, we call it. You have to demonstrate your skills as a police officer to be signed off as a substantive police officer. That was tough. I found that really tough. For whatever reason, I found that really tough. And I needed a break from it. And someone reached out to me from the recruitment team and said, look, do you want to come and do recruitment for a while? And initially loved it because it was slow paced. It meant that I wasn't. It's more friendly hours because I wasn't doing night shift anymore, stuff like that. But after a while, I started getting itchy feet, and I was like, I didn't join this job to be in a recruitment office. But that's where I had to find something to love about the role. And like I mentioned earlier, seeing these guys go out and make a difference, and knowing that a lot of my candidates probably wouldn't be where they are without my support. That's what I love about the role. And where I can go out as an individual officer and help one person, the hopefully hundreds of candidates that I've helped hire, go out and help hundreds of people. So ultimately, that's how I find satisfaction in my role, by knowing that the officers that I've brought into the force are going out and making a real difference in our community.
And what about you, Mike? So what's sort of fulfilling for you in your role?
Well, for me, it's slightly different because my role really is a management role. But having said that, I have to be aware of every single officer and where they are and what they're doing. And I have to put some confidence in my managers to make sure that they're looking after their staff. So what Ali just said, I love it when we come back with a great job and we've just saved someone's life, and that's a daily occurrence. It's not once in a blue moon, it's a daily occurrence, and this is something we don't shout about because it's just our job, and we see it as just a job, our job. So my job is management, but I get absolute pride in the teams that work for me and the work they do. So I get my pride that way.
So it's all about people, really, for you guys, all about helping people. Do you guys ever feel like a little bit, I don't know, sort of upset or annoyed that all the good that you do gets overshadowed by a lot of the hate that you guys also get?
Yeah, I feel like also the media will specify one bad thing that a police officer does, but doesn't know that a police officer might have gone to 10 other jobs that may be saving life at a very breaking point of somebody. They don't get highlighted. So you kind of miss every good thing that they do, only specify one thing that probably done wrong. I'm not saying that there aren't police officers that do wrong, but the amount of jobs that you go to, the amount of things that you do that you actually help the public, they don't get, in the media so much. And that's a bad thing. That's a shame, really. You need to see officers do what they do,
I think there needs to be like a good news show or something that just portrays all the good things that you guys do, because there is a lot of good.
No one will watch it.
I guess this is why we have this show, isn't it?
Lockdown never
If you started a news show about all the bad that police do, you get massive views. Start a show about all the good that police do, no one will watch it.
And why do you think that is?
Well, stuff
Maybe if it was like more action, crime,
Well, we've got 24 hours in police custody.
You know what? I was actually going to bring that up because I did watch a show like last week. I watched it because it was like I knew.
Did you see me in it?
Were you in it?
I was.
Yeah.
I never saw it. Well, obviously I didn't know your face. But I just saw how the detective she really did care. And she really did get to the bottom of it, and sometimes we can think the police don't care about us and all of this, especially because last week's show it was about someone who was involved in some other stuff, but she still took her job very seriously and she got to the bottom of it, and she did what was right. She got justice. So I think it's sad that we don't see that enough. The only time we have to, get to 24 hours in police custody to see any type of good.
Yeah, well, what you do see on that programme, and it's an award-winning programme. It's one of the most watched non-fiction police programmes that this country's ever produced. And I think they've just up for another season, I believe. So it is a really, really good show. But what it does show you is the hard work and the dedication from the officers. And when they get results, you can see how happy they are and how vigilant they have to be and how much effort they have to put in to prosecute someone. And these are the people who are a danger to the community. We're putting them away. That's a good news story as far as we're concerned. So at least that programme showcases some of the really good work that we do.
But that's only in Bedfordshire Police, isn't it? So it's a shame that it's not because isn't Met Police the main police in England?
It's like counties. It's like every county has got its own police force, and we may work completely different to them. The Met are a metropolitan London-based police service. We're just border with them, Hertfordshire anyway, and then we border with Hertfordshire. So everyone runs their own police service slightly different. We're pretty much all the same, just systems and processes sometimes slightly different.
It'd be nice to have a worldwide kind of police show.
Yeah, definitely. I think that sort of communities can sort of talk about the positive things that the police have done for them as well. I mentioned the Good News Show and you said no one would watch it. I think that's because maybe if it was produced by the police, they'd automatically think that it was biased. Whereas if it was communities and police working together, then maybe their perspective might change on that a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anything that's fully police, you're going to think there's a bit of bias involved in there, and you're going to think they're only going to make themselves look good, aren't they? But it's about being real, it's about being true, and that's why we do a lot, not just 24 hours. Forget 24 hours for a second, but think about everything else that we do in the community. You'll see us at mosques, you'll see us at churches, you'll see us at Gurdwaras, you'll see us at community centres, you'll see us at all the big events, street events that go on, Diwali, Eid, Jamaica Fest, and all of these different Afro Fest, all of these different events that we go to. Why are the police there? Yes, we want to keep it safe, but people who come to those events don't normally come to cause trouble. They come to have a good time and to celebrate their culture culture, their religion, etc. We come to integrate. We come to be a part of it, so people can see that we are a part of them. You know, we're a part of their community, and they're a part of our police force. One can't be without the other. So yeah, 24 Hours does a great job in showing some of the good in the police force. But you know, if you have a moment, just speak to one of the local police officers. Stop. I know we don't see bobbies on the beat anymore because we just don't have the numbers. We're working on that. But if you ever see a police officer and they're not looking too busy, have a chat with them and just to speak to them. How's your day going? What have you been up to today? And they'll be more than happy to speak to you. A police officer's never going to turn down a conversation to talk about, you know, all the good that he does.
I'm going to hold you to that, because if I go up to a police officer and they like shoo me away, I'm going to say,
make sure they're not on a live job.
Yeah, they're not too busy. Yeah,
they're not on a live job. Like, if he's trying to like, you know, give CPR to someone and you're like, excuse me, how's your day going? You might not get a good reply.
yeah.
I think that is true though as well in terms of the police, because I work in a restaurant and we have police coming in all the time, and I think all the time, because usually they don't eat in because they're on the go and they get takeaways. When they're waiting, I will usually start up a conversation with them, and they are very nice, like all of the time. I've never come across a mean officer.
Oh, yeah.
But there was this one time where we were sort of like seating people at their tables because it was really busy and we had a bit of a queue. There were police officers, they were just inside, they were literally just there to get a Nando's, and we had someone call the restaurant like, there's police inside, we don't know if we can come in. And I was on the call to them like, it's completely fine, you can come into the restaurant, they're literally just getting food. But I think people just need to sort of try and see the police as more normal, because they are, at the end of it, like at the root of it, what the police are trying to do is they're trying to do a job just like the rest of us are trying to do. And more than that, they're trying to protect us, they're trying to keep communities safe. So I really feel like that needs to be highlighted a lot more towards people.
Yeah, I mean, we're not robots, so we need to eat, so you'll see us in nannies quite often.
yeah.
So, yeah, you know, like I said, those are the type of situations that I want to try and avoid, and the police want to try and avoid. We want to be approachable. You know, we want you to come and have a chat with us. We are part of your community, and you're a part of us. So let's integrate and let's work together to make it a safe place. You know, if you want to sit down and have a Nando's together, I'm more than happy to sit down and have a Nando's with you and talk to you about policing, because I love talking about my job. But yeah, if you ever see a police officer and they don't look too busy, by all means have a conversation with them. They'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And more often than not, if they can't answer your questions, they will point you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's why I do think like this show is really important, because I think it's actually since we did this show that I did start seeing police in a different light, because I've actually spoken to a lot of you police officers now, and like all of you have been very like wonderful, kind, interesting, and you know, like that's why I do think this show is important. And even like I have even thought like maybe like, because I want to be a detective, I think it's really cool, and like even no leave the lab coats alone.
Detectives don't wear lab coats.
No, they don't.
She didn't get it.
Forensics wear lab coats. Well, I say the white overalls when they're looking at evidence.
You know, the scientist people.
Oh no, I want about trench coats, not lab coats, trench coats.
Oh,
like
trench coats.
No, she was actually on the right.
Yeah, I meant trench. I don't know why I say lab coats. Trench
Yeah.
coats. Yeah, there we go. Like Inspector Gould from Inspector Calls.
Yeah.
But no, like I actually do feel like a lot better about it. Like even that whole sense of teamwork. Like I do believe you definitely become a stronger person out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Mike mentioned something earlier that I wanted to reference back to when he's you know, about how people within their communities, they feel like traitors if they join the police because their community says it's bad to join the police. And that's where I try and do a lot of work with younger children. You know, you can't join the police until you're 18. So in terms of recruitment, I target only 17 plus, 16, 17 plus. But if the school invited me and said, come and speak to some 13-year-olds, I'm going to that school to speak to those 13-year-olds and hopefully leave a positive image where I get to them before the influence of everything else gets to them, where they see a police officer, hopefully have a positive interaction with that police officer and think, do you know what, I can see myself doing that. So no matter what the next couple of years holds for them, they still hold it in the back of their heads. And when they turn 17 and 18, they're like, do you know what, I spoke to that police officer, he was fantastic, and now I want to follow in his footsteps, rather than getting influenced by the gangs and the community that wants to keep them away from what they want to do.
So I think being a police officer, obviously it's like a very sort of like, not frustrating job, I can't think of the word at the moment, but it takes a lot of a toll on your mental health, I think. So how do you guys deal with things like that, starting with you, Mike?
You do see a lot of things that the normal public wouldn't see. You do see death on a regular occasions. But what you have to remember is you're trained. You're trained to understand that kind of incident. You're trained to deal with it. And eventually you do become acclimatized to it because you become professional. So because you're no longer a lay member of the public and it's the first time it's happened and you're running around scared. As an officer, you do maybe sometimes in the beginning feel like that because we're all human at the end of the day, but you learn, and as you get more professional and experience, you learn to understand and deal with your mental health. And we have welfare support within the system anyway, because we fully understand that some people are stronger than others, so we have all kinds of welfare support available for anyone should they need it.
Yeah, it's also good outside, like when your days off work, to do leisure things that any person would normally do to keep your mind healthy. Gym, go to the gym, go cinema, go enjoy your life as well. But you understand you're still a police officer even off-road, but also enjoy your life as well. You need your family support as well. You need your friends support too. Sometimes they're there when they hold your hand when you're feeling okay, not so good, but yeah. When you come back up, that's how you build your mental health as well. You can deal with your job.
And I think it's a good point to mention, the shift work is 4 on, 4 off.
Yeah.
So you get 4 days on, 4 days off. So effectively you work half the year.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
You lot are really selling it.
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job at that.
Free uni, no debts to no one.
Yeah. Work half a year, it's great.
Exactly.
So but do you work 4 days in a row and then 4 days
so you
off?
do 2 days, 12-hour shifts, 2 night shifts, and then you have 4 days off.
Okay.
Oh wow, that's really
Pretty good.
I think that makes up for the night shifts that you have to do.
Yeah.
Sort of. So you mentioned that even though you're off duty, you're still on duty because you're a police officer. So what does that mean? Does that mean if you see some sort of crime going on, it's your duty to intervene, even if it's your day off?
100%. You gotta.
Do you have a badge?
You have a badge, yeah. You keep your badge everywhere you go with, yeah. So whenever you see something, you're meant to deal with it.
That's so cool. So you just whip it out like that.
Oh my gosh.
PC Ali over here.
That's sick. I'm sorry, I'm just holding a badge right now. So all of you have this, but would it be it actually looks like I don't know if anyone's watched Luther or any type of detective program, but it looks exactly like that. But it's like the Bedfordshire police brooch. It looks sick. I'm not even gonna lie. Really cool. Do you use this as your purse?
Yeah, I've got my cards in it. Yeah.
Can I use take a selfie? Anyway, but I think that's so cool. So would anyone know? Would it be against the law? If you didn't intervene, or would anyone not know?
I think what it is every person, including people who are not police officers, have the ability and the right to intervene when something's going wrong. Some people are of course braver than others, some people don't want to get involved. I totally get that, but if you've got a trained police officer, it's his duty, her duty, to intervene wherever they can, wherever it's safe.
I think as well it becomes your second sort of instinct as well, or your first instinct even, because if you're doing it all the time, then I think naturally you're gonna sort of want to help someone who's facing injustice in the streets.
Yeah, which is the reason why you joined in the first place. You want to help, regardless wherever you are.
So it's all about helping people. I think everyone I've spoken to, on this show that we've spoken to, everyone always talks about how it's about helping people. And I think that's very heartwarming to see. And I feel like a lot more people could do with hearing this message from you guys, because you guys aren't out to get anyone, to sort of attack anyone in particular. You're just out there to try and help communities and to keep the streets safe, basically.
Someone's got to do it. It's true. We send the nurses out, but I don't think they do a good job. There's a lot of careers out there that are designed to help people, all the public services, so let's not discredit any of them, but no one really gets their fingers in as many pies as the police does. We're paramedics, we're first aiders, where we respond to danger. If there's a cat up a tree, we'll probably get there before the fire engine does.
Really?
So we'll try our absolute best to help in any environment, advising people on mental health. we don't get mental health training, like how to deal. We do, but not to the extent that someone in the NHS does. Like if someone rings 999 and says, I'm feeling down, we're going to get sent out. And I've spent hours on having conversations with people who have felt upset, and just trying to convince them that it's not all doom and gloom, and convincing them that maybe they need to seek further help, and then maybe escorting them to the hospital and sitting with them at the hospital while they waited for an assessment. So like I said, we get involved in so much more than just what you see on telly. Obviously what you see on telly and what you hear about is the fancy stuff, the fast cars and the blue lights and the taser and everyone. Do you carry a taser? Have you tasers anyone? First questions I get asked at school.
Have you though? Okay.
No. But there's so much more to being a police officer than what meets the eye. So anyone interested, the best advice I could give you is do your own research. It's fine, listen to whatever anyone else has to say, watch whatever you have to watch, but do your own research, and that'll give you a better idea of whether this is a job for you or not.
Is there any links you can direct people to? So
the Bedfordshire Police website, that has all the information about recruitment if you are interested in joining. It has all the statistics and everything like that, if you're interested in all that stuff. And it's just type in Bedfordshire Police on Google and it'll come up. But if you have any questions directly for me or anything recruitment related, you can email r.recruitment@beds.police.uk, and that'll come directly to me and my team, and we can answer your questions directly.
Yeah, I think genuinely it has been really nice having you guys on today. So like every sort of episode we learn about something new. I think me and Kat were speaking just before, and I don't know, I feel like I personally didn't know exactly what to sort of ask you because, it's about recruitment, but you guys have made it really good.
I didn't think I'd be so interested and want to know more, to be honest.
We'll send you the application form.
But so this is Public and the Police, and remember guys, we are here every Thursday, Tuesday of the month, and we are also youth ambassadors from Attentive, and if you did want to join Attentive, we have a YouTube channel and we've also got Instagram, and that is Attentive Enterprise, social enterprise, and that's Attentive with a 10 in the middle. Can everyone maybe just have an outro outro yourself?
I look forward to receiving your application. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Shout out to Bedfordshire Police and Team Force out.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been great talking to you. You've asked some really good questions. I'm glad to have been able to answer them.
Okay, thank you so much guys for coming in today, and thank you to our listeners for listening to today's show.